Hi, and welcome to the newest episode of Casual Side. My name is Kim, and during this episode, we will talk with Fabien Hautier, who is a tax partner and also part of our Be Well, Work Well committee here at PwC Luxembourg. With that program, we want to equip our people with the right tools for staying healthy in an increasingly demanding environment, both physically and mentally. During this episode, you will get an insight on how we as a firm focus on health topics, new ways of working, and how our people can grow and thrive during these so uncertain times. Listen to Fabien's personal experience, what helps him to adapt to change, and get to know why, according to him, resilience is the key to do so. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hi Fabien, thank you for joining us today for a new season, so to say, at PwC's Casual Side. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Hi Kim. Very nice to invite me to this podcast. Very happy to be here with you.
It's a pleasure. You're part of the Be Well, Work Well committee here at PwC Luxembourg, and you are a partner. But maybe you can just shortly introduce yourself to our audience. So who are you?
My name is Fabien Hautier. I'm a tax partner. I've been with PwC for 10 years now. And I started my career, by the way, at Coopers & Lybrand at the time, back in 1997. Stayed for 2 years. It was at the time of the merger between Coopers & Lybrand and PW. Mm-hmm. Then I moved on to other places and came back in 2010.
Where have you been in between?
So in between, I first have been to Arthur Andersen, stayed there for 2 years, then 9 years at ENY, or 10 years at ENY, and then came back here.
But was it all in Luxembourg? Or?
It was all in Luxembourg.
Okay, so you're 100% Luxembourg pro.
Yes. My entire career is and has been in Luxembourg. So I started working in Luxembourg 24 years ago, almost, and I've stayed in Luxembourg for that long.
And why did you come back? Like after such a long time, you decided to join PwC again?
Well, in life, whether it's in personal life or professional life, I realized, because I didn't know that at the time, that you have phases, and that's the place where you feel good at some point in time, you may not feel good in that place anymore after a certain time, but for various reasons. It could be personal reasons, it could be reasons because you have some changes in the way the firm works. And at some point, you realize that you don't feel good. And if you don't feel good, and that's the thought process that I had at the time started back in 07, 08, at the time of the financial crisis. And I could feel that I didn't feel really happy where I was. And I was thinking, well, there are two ways of looking at it. Either I realize that I'm not happy and I have to live with it and stop complaining and go on with my life, or I give myself a chance
to change
something. And a couple of years before, I had bumped into Wim Piot, former tax leader. I think it was in an airport, and we discussed a bit, blah, blah, blah. And he said, would you be interested to join PwC? At the time, I said, well, no, thank you. I'm fine where I am. And so I contacted him, and it started from there, and I came back.
Just maybe before we continue with the questions for today, because you said something very interesting. You had to take a choice, rather just do what you do, not be happy with it, or change something. Could you maybe shortly explain us what was the process inside you? What was going on really to have this shift, these thoughts, and saying like, okay, I have to do something, but maybe you didn't know at that time really what you wanted to do or what you have to do, but you could feel it that there has to be something that has to be changed.
Yes.
If it's not too personal.
No. It's very simple, and I think every one of us at some point in our life experienced that kind of feeling. When you're, and it could be personal, it could be professional. It's really wide ranging. If you feel unhappy, and I think you can probably feel it when you start complaining all the time and seeing always the negative side of things, not really the positives anymore. It should start a reflection. And when you start, I realized that I started complaining a lot.
Okay.
And I could see all the negatives. I couldn't see the positives anymore. And I thought, well, there is something wrong.
Okay.
And if you see...
Was there a trigger moment for you?
Not really. Not really. I attach a lot of importance to, encounters in life. So if I look back at my own life, it's made of encounters at some points, and one encounter will lead me to a certain direction. Totally unexpected, but it led me into. I was born and raised in France. Went to school in France. Looked for a job in France. I had no idea at the time that Luxembourg even existed, or that it was
really nobody really has Luxembourg on its radar.
Exactly, and I met this lady from university who was leading one of the programs, and I met her, and she said, "Well, you know what? If you're looking for a job, you should try Luxembourg, because I know that they're hiring." And she said, by the way, there's a training it was some kind of a training period that was offered by Société Générale in Paris, in France, for 3 months. And I said, yes, why not? So I applied for the training period. I went there. And during the training period, I met several people who told me, yeah, you should try Luxembourg because they're hiring. And I had sent, I don't know, something like 300 letters in France, applications for jobs, received no answers. And I thought, well, maybe I should try Luxembourg then. So I tried it.
It's a sign. It was a sign, yeah.
I don't know. If you look at it backwards, yes.
What do you think now? Yeah, you think,
there was probably a sign, but when you live through it, you don't necessarily see the signs.
But that's not bad. We should really start thinking, as from the beginning, that there's a reason behind it, and that's the process, and that we will get that there's a reason behind it, and one day we will understand maybe why. As you're saying now, looking back at it, it makes sense. It was totally the right thing.
Yes, and I think what's important is to trust, just to trust life, trust uncertainty in life, trust yourself, trust your abilities, trust what you can do, and just move on with it. And that's probably what helps seizing the opportunity, which I see now as opportunities. Obviously, at the time I didn't really see it like this, but it's always been interesting. And I thought, like I don't know, thousands of people probably, and I've had that conversation a number of times with people in Luxembourg, that you come to Luxembourg, you think that you're going to stay for 2-3 years. Get some experience and go back to your home country, and 24 years after, I'm still here.
That's great. We're happy to have you here, still here. So now let's going back to the topic. So getting familiar with the unfamiliar COVID situation, uncertain times for all of us. First time again that we have the possibility to do a really holiday. So have you been on holiday, on vacation? How do you feel about holiday? And specifically, how do you feel coming back now to the office? Because there are going to be some changes, becoming more often to the office. How do you feel about all of this?
I feel pretty good, I have to say. And I can see an evolution from confinement last year. Holidays last year, because I still took holidays last year. Okay. Holidays this year and coming back. When confinement started, we were for like 3 months at home without any possibility almost to come to the office. And at the time I thought, well, I'm not going to come back to the office. I'm going to stay home.
Really?
Yeah.
Why that?
Well, I was happy at home.
Okay.
I was with I'm in a situation which was easy to live.
That means for the audience to understand.
That means you have a home. I'm not living in a studio in a very small apartment. I have children, but they're not very young children, which means that I could work, and at the same time they would get on with what they had to do with school and so on. And I could have my family with me. I didn't have to travel anymore. I could just work from home. And at least at the very beginning, the positive thing that I could see in the confinement is that it slowed down the pace of the working time.
Okay.
it was not as frenzy as it is or as it can be when you're in the office. Because there were less meetings. I mean, it was you had time to do your job and so on and so forth. So I was really happy with the situation. And then after 2-3 months, I started to feel like the need to.
You started to complain again. And
not complaining. No, not complaining. But you feel need to change your environment. So I started coming back to the office and sometime in mid-July on a more regular basis. And I realized a few things. And one thing which is going to sound stupid, but I realized that by being in confinement, I didn't move anymore physically.
Yes.
So I would be starting my day at something like 7:30, 8 a.m. I would go to my working place. I don't have a real office at home, but I have a working place, which is somewhat isolated. And I would stay there until 12:30, 1, then move one flight of stairs up, have lunch, and then go back down, work until 7:30, 8, and then go back to the main floor. And I realized that was not enough for my body. I needed movement. I could feel pain in my legs. It was a pain. And I realized coming back to the office in July last year that the mere fact of coming back, walking up the stairs or walking down the stairs, going to the bar, fetch a coffee, things like this, very simple things, were really, really helpful. And progressively, I started to come back more and more often to the office, like 2-3 days a week. And I've kept on that arrangement since then. And
in terms of now vacation, so you could travel, you've been somewhere, you came back from somewhere, COVID situation. How was that, all of this? Did you feel a change? Do you feel people behaving differently? Did you feel safe? How was this for you?
So you can feel a difference, definitely. Now, in terms of vacation, I'm going to sound very French. I don't, well, it's at the same time I'm going to sound very French and I don't need to travel to go on vacation.
Yeah, because in France you have so many beautiful places.
It's true.
Yeah, yes.
True, but I don't feel the need to travel. I feel the need to change the environment.
Okay.
But I don't feel the need to go to, places which are far away. You take the plane and so on and so forth. And so,
and this is very French. Thing?
I don't know. I think so because a lot of French people tend to go on vacation. To stay in France.
Yeah. But again, the argument there is because you have really so many beautiful places, seaside and everything.
It's true, but yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know. But what happens is that my in-laws have a very small vacation house in Brittany. And that we usually go there during the summer. That's what we did last year. That's what we did this year. And I enjoyed it even much more this year than last year because you could start to feel more freedom than the year before. You still have to wear the mask. You still have to protect yourself. But in the meantime, I've been vaccinated since July, and so once you have your pass, you can.
But did it because you explained some seconds ago, we were in lockdown 3 months. You just moved from one floor to the other. I always like to compare this as a method, so like we were in prison, although in a beautiful prison for sure.
True.
And now you were free. You could go out. How did it feel? Did it change something? Was it like always okay? It's holiday season now, or has there been a shift? Because for my side, I can tell you, I much appreciate it much more now. Really, to have this capability to go to see my family in Croatia, to be there at the seaside. It's even each ray of sunshine, each every smell of the sea. It felt different for me. I don't know.
And I'm totally with you. I don't have the same. I don't feel it probably the same way with the same importance because I was again privileged in that sense because I was able to see my family, not as much as before, but we were able to go to France and I mean, take the car and go there, spend a long weekend and see them. So the strength that you feel is probably not the same. It's probably bigger for you. But I could feel that I had that feeling of freedom.
Yes.
Effectively, freedom again. Things are opening up slowly, but they're opening up, and we could feel that we could go back to kind of normal times, normal life, which was really, I mean, the main difficulty was around social life, where you, at a time of lockdown, you don't see many people, and it's bearing on your morale at some point in time.
And okay, coming back to the topic, so a lot of uncertainties we've mentioned. Coming back to the office, there are quite some changes compared to last year. But very concretely, do you have any ideas, suggestions how the new way of working may look like? So how many days per week will we come to the office? Will there be something like home-based working for in the future in general? And I think it's all of this cause a lot of like uncertainty, stress, thoughts about how can we as employees express or really believe how will it really change for us as well in the future. Do you have any comments there?
So I don't have any real answers.
Yes.
I understand that John may be talking about the subject next Monday.
Yes.
And I don't know what the final say will be. But it's true that we're seeing more and more people coming back to the office, which is a good thing, because we've been separated for a long time, and it has an impact on people's morale and the way we work, because there's nothing that replaces direct contact and discussion. That's very clear. It's probably, I would think, we're going to go for something like 2-3 days a week in the office, with a focus on the satellite offices also. But there's, as much as we can adapt to the situation and offer as much flexibility as we can, which I think has been a decisive factor for PwC, because when I look at what's happening around us, we're probably one of the firms which has offered the most flexibility throughout those times. Because in some other firms, you could go to the office 1 week and then you have to stay home for 2 weeks. Alternative, working time, etc., etc. Now, there's a reality that the neighboring countries are now going back into the normal mode with setting new rules in terms of the number of days that you can work outside the country. I understand that Belgium has already signed an agreement with Luxembourg. Germany also. France is also in discussions. And it will probably drive the decision of a number of people to come back to the office, because this time was kind of, from a pure tax perspective, a free time, because it didn't have any effect. The fact of coming to Luxembourg or staying home, to work, didn't have any effect on the tax position of the people doing so. But as from now on, and I think it's going to be end of September for Belgium. I read that it's going to be end of December for Germany, probably end of November for France. Then things are going to change, because the old tax position is going to be back in play, which means that people will have to come back to the office. And
apart from, home-based working, do you think there will be a change as well in other things, maybe? Because you are the leader of Be Well Work Well, and I think, or at least I can just talk for myself, there have been a lot of things going on, on health topics, I would say, not just physical but emotional health as well. And do you think that COVID has shown us where we should really put a focus on?
COVID has shown us the importance of not only physical health, but also mental health. That's a fact. We know that a lot of people have struggled throughout the COVID times, and COVID times are not over.
No. Yes.
Unfortunately, they're not over.
Yes.
They're milder. The situation is more manageable. and you see a lot of countries who want to open up again, but it's not over. So we have to be careful with it. But at the same time, it showed the importance of making sure that people find the right balance in their life, and that the amount of stress that they feel because of the situation, combined with the kind of normal stress that we all have in our normal life, doesn't come unbearable and unmanageable. So it's a difficulty. We've done through the Be Well Work Well program. We've tried to give people the tools to help them go through the situation.
Yes.
I want to say, unfortunately, it's fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. Each and every one of us is different. Each and every one of us reacts differently to stress factors, to events of life, etc., etc. So there's no one-size-fits-all recipe. And so that's why we wanted to provide a number of tools to help people and help them pick which one would work for them and help them.
Yeah, we're coming back to this one at the later stage. It's a really interesting program you have set in place. I followed it on Piwik as well for different ones, the different topics you had there. But maybe another open question, what is your opinion about working from anywhere?
Working from anywhere is interesting. It has some good and bad. I think it's positive because effectively working from anywhere is something new. It's something which is very interesting because it gives you a lot of freedom. Now it raises a number of questions. It's aside from the tax questions.
Yes.
The main question is how do you manage a team, or how do you remain part of a team when your team is either scattered around the world,
yes,
or is for a big part of the team in one location and you're in another location. So it's a difficult balance to find. Once again, I think it can be justified and it can be easily done when it's through some vacation period where the volume of work probably reduces, at least in principle. It's not always the case, but in principle it should be reduced compared to normal times. So I think it's probably manageable over the holiday season. On a long-term basis, I think it's really difficult because what we can see, and I've had the discussions with a number of people, especially with people also outside the firm, comparing the feelings and comparing what we see in our own kind of working environment. The COVID times have kind of relaxed or and I'm sorry for the like, I don't know the exact English word for that, but they have had a negative impact on the adherence to corporate culture, in the sense that by not being physically in one location and being part of a company, being part of a brand physically on the ground, it leads people to feel less attached to this company. See, it doesn't mean that people don't work for the company. It doesn't mean that people remain motivated, but you see a detachment to some extent from the corporate life, from the team to some extent, because you don't have the same kind of adherence to the team when you live with the team, together with the team each and every day. Obviously you feel part of it.
Absolutely.
And even though we try to maintain that team spirit through regular meetings on video, etc., it's clearly not the same. Because through video you don't have the same messages. You have the verbal message, but you don't have the physical message with the body language.
You have the body language, exactly. But I don't know, you tell me, but maybe this is something we will focus on in the future as we will go more to this hybrid version way of working. So how can we ensure that there is an effective teamwork, team spirit, even though maybe we're not every day in the office. Yes, no.
Yes, I think it's important to keep that team spirit. I think it's and I mean, maybe things are going to be different. The way I see it is that there will need to be sometimes some kind of pit stops in the office where people get together physically,
Yes.
Discuss the projects going on, discuss what they have on their mind, their difficulties, discuss, I mean, client matters, discuss HR matters, etc., but discuss as a team together. And then each person goes back to their own life for a couple of days, and then you have, but a pit stop at least once a week, I think seems very useful in that regard, to keep that.
I could continue just about this topic to talk about how effective are teams working and everything. But unfortunately, we do not have the time today.
It's a difficult balance to find.
It is, absolutely. And as you've mentioned, the beautiful thing is that not everyone is the same. Yep. Something that works for the one person doesn't mean exactly that it's working for the other one. And then finding a way that for all the different personalities, characters within the team to make it in an efficient way, I think it's art that it's possible, that it's working as well.
Yeah, and the recipe which may work at some point in time may not be working 6 months later.
Absolutely.
Because there's been a change in the dynamics of the team, etc. So it's very difficult.
So I could continue just talking about this one, but for the purpose again of getting familiar with the unfamiliar. So how do we get familiar with the unfamiliar? An open question. If there's one thing you would change how we work, what would it be?
The honest answer to this one is I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
But basically this means you think everything is good as it is, no? I'm
not saying that everything is good as it is. It's just that when I mean, that's the way at least I react when I see a change. I just try to see how best I could make that change for me as an individual. How best can I work with the change, and how best can I adapt to it and make it a positive rather than a negative? I mean, when you have a change, you always have positives, negatives, but I always try to see how I can myself, by changing a behavior, by changing something in the way I do things, try to make it a positive. Because if you feel things as a negative, then it's gonna pull you back instead of pushing you towards the next thing.
That's a perfect link for my next question. So you said, okay, there's going to be a change. We still don't know what COVID and the whole situation with COVID would look like. So it's normal, I think, as you've mentioned, that everybody of us struggles at a certain point. You've mentioned your example. Was it 10 years ago?
Yeah, it was 12 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
So it's normal that we have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable in order really to grow outside from our comfort zone. But really, what would you recommend we should be equipped with for this new COVID life?
There's one word which I think explains that, and it's resilience.
What is really resilience? Everybody's talking about resilience, but how can we define it really?
To me, resilience is the ability to face adversity, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to suffer, that the times are not going to be difficult. You're going to have to go through this suffering, but you're going to meet the adversity, and you're going to bounce back after you've been able to solve what made it an adversity, or the adversity has gone away.
Okay.
And so it's the ability to effectively face that adversity, see how to react to it, what do you feel about it, and how can you overcome it. I was about to say make yourself stronger. I'm not sure it makes yourself stronger, but at least you're able to overcome the adversity, live through it, learn from it, take lessons from what you've gone through, so that the next time you face another adversity, then you're going to be able to use what you've learned the first time to effectively be able to bounce back even faster to the extent possible. So it's the way I understand it.
Okay.
It's not necessarily easy, but my personal feeling is that if you want to face adversity, if you want to be able to effectively have resilience, you need energy. If you're completely down, it's extremely difficult to really face adversity.
Okay.
So it's keeping those energy levels to the extent possible at an optimum level, to be able to absorb negative things that you would encounter in life, whether it's in personal life, professional life. It applies to just anything.
Okay, when we come back to energy, and now coming back closer to the Be Well programs, so could you just shortly maybe introduce what was the idea behind it? What have you offered? What could employees do during? I think it was 6 months, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It was a 6-month program, and it was definitely about energy. The way we designed the program is based on what we saw initially is that there was a survey which had been done in winter of 2020, which showed that people really were tired. They were low on energy. But I mean, the feedback that we felt was that people had a break, but that the break didn't have a lot of effects on their life, and that they didn't feel really that the break had brought any positive to their life. So we thought, well, we got to try to give some recipes to help people come back from that low time and go back to a high time.
For example, could you just maybe mention one example of a recipe?
Well, the recipes are very simple. I'm afraid it's eating well. It's sleeping. Sleeping is one of the most important things in life.
Even for myself, one of the most difficult thing for me, sleeping well.
If you don't sleep well, you don't feel well during the day because you feel tired, and then you have that ripple effect because it goes on for days and days and days and days, and it has effects on your body and the way your body will react to germs, etc., etc. But it also has effect on your mind and the way and your mental health.
Yes.
You feel more stressed. You feel that you're not good. You have the feeling that everybody wants to nag at you, and you don't see the interpersonal relationships in a positive way. But you start.
You're not balanced at all.
Exactly. So it's very simple things that we tend to forget. It's just that for whatever reason we tend to forget that.
Why is that?
I don't know, because we're pushed through our personal and professional lives. We're pushed to do more, always more. There's a whole question as to whether this is sustainable and this is good, but you always have to do more. You have to take care of the kids. You have to work work either at home or in the office, but you have to do your job. And then you have to take care of the housing chores and take care of the kids, etc., etc., etc. It piles up to a point where sometimes you feel that it's just not possible to manage anymore. And by having a personal discipline, you can have some positive effects on the way you effectively feel about it, and the way you can manage your own life. It applies to sleep. It applies to nutrition. It applies to, and we've had long conversation on that point about disconnection.
Okay.
Which is not an easy topic. With again, no one size fits all solution. But it is interesting to see that there is a debate going on about disconnection. And the negative effect that being connected all the time can have on your health, whether physical or mental.
Okay, and maybe just one last question for today. If there's something you could recommend to our audience, what would it be?
To recommend? In what?
And anything related to how to get familiar with the unfamiliar, to the new circumstances, new COVID life, anything, coming back to the office, be well, work well, really anything that is up to your mind. What is a message you would like to give?
Well, the message probably that I would want to give is trust yourself. I mean, look at what is important to you. What is driving you? What makes you feel good? Because if you can find what makes you feel good, whether it's personal, professional life, whatever, it's going to help you. And if you're able to reproduce that, I can give you an example. I'm a golf addict.
Okay.
And I try to play as much as I can.
That means how many times per week?
That means during vacation, I played at least 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. During working time, it's just not possible.
Yeah, because golf is taking a lot of time. It's a hobby that is taking a lot of time. It's not just you go there for 1 hour. You really have to prepare and be there. And
Exactly. But over the past 3 weekends, I've played each day.
Okay.
And as long as the weather is going to be nice, I'm going to try to play effectively. Once on Saturday, once on Sunday. But it is a sport, but at the same time, and I've had the discussion through the Be Well Work Well program with the lady who did a presentation on meditation. I have that feeling that it's some sort of meditation because you feel isolated from everybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, you only have the partners that are with you to play with you. Mm-hmm. But aside from this, you're in nature. You have to focus on your game. And you forget about everything else. I shut off the phone, and suddenly you feel free.
Yes.
And you enjoy that moment.
Absolutely. I totally understand that because my husband, he's also a golf addict, and I'm more into yoga. And he joined me once for yoga because it's also meditation and everything. And then he said, you know what? No, that's really not my thing. And he explained to me the same as you. Like for him, it's really meditative when he's there at the golf course, playing the whole day. So it's exactly the same. Yeah. So I totally understand that.
And it's just so it's a question of for people to find what makes them feel good. Mm. It's not always easy to find. It could be a hobby. It could be anything. But if you find what makes you feel good and you're able to use that to absorb the other difficulties in life, then everything seems much easier. So that would be my kind of recipe. It's not one size fits all.
Absolutely.
It's very personal, but for me it works at least.
Great. Thanks a lot for this very interesting conversation, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day too.
Ciao, ciao. That's it for today's episode. If you don't want to miss out on our upcoming stories, hit subscribe, feel free to share, and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening, and see you for the next episode of Casual Aside.